Hi, everybody. Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story from one of our 35 plus chapters that stretch from the Triangle in North Carolina, which is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, all the way to the coast of North Carolina. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. And our goal each week is to help our fellow members grow their business by following the giver's gain philosophy of BNI. And because it's around the holidays, a lot of people shifted schedules. So you get me today. Happy to be here again. Thank you for all the support this year and from the first time we came on the air. And so this is the end of the year, which means we reflect. And this is also the end of the year, which means we plan ahead. So we're going to do both today. We're going to talk about goal setting. We all have personal and professional goals, but we need to kind of start realistically looking at these and how we go about doing this. So we're going to talk about a couple things today. One is you have to have a vision for your goal. What do you want? Let's look at the professional goals first of all. What do you want your business to do for you and your life? Do you want it to make a lot of money? Do you want it to keep you busy? Do you want it to start something, do it to start something else? What's the vision for your goal? Then the next thing is what processes are you going to set up? A lot of times, business owners and sales professionals just kind of show up. They'll show up at a networking event. They'll post a few times on social media, and they'll think that, oh, yeah, people know what I do. Well, fallacy in that. Not everybody's going to read that. Not everybody's going to see you. Not everybody's going to hear about you. So the processes you set up for each day, each week, and each month. And then do you have the discipline to do that? So if one of your processes is 10 phone calls a day, do you have the discipline to do that? Or whatever it is, 3 posts a week on social media. Do you have the discipline to do that? Kind of like working out. A lot of things with small business and setting goals are a lot like your gym membership. You can join, but if you don't show up, you're probably not going to get the results you want by losing weight, getting into better shape, things like that. So a lot of this comes down to the discipline, but we need a vision at first. So today we're going to talk about setting your business goals for 2026, but we're going to work backwards. We're going to reverse engineer this so we can figure out how to track it and is it working. And again, we talk about setting goals for weight loss. And let's say your goal in 2026 is to lose 30 pounds. And you focus on the number 30, the number 30, the number 30 the whole time. You're like, oh, I'll never get there. I'll never get there. But if you break it down to 2.5 pounds a week, right? Now we're talking something. And then you break it down by day. Now we're talking something. Okay, so we're at what, a third of a pound a day, between a third and a fourth of a pound of a day. Now we can do that. It's kind of like in business. Bill Davis, who is a longtime business coach here in the Triangle, and he was on the show early on. He's one of my business guys that I respect a whole lot because I can't ever get anything by him. If he asks me a question on something, I give him an answer, and he just kind of cocks his head a little bit and goes, really? I'm like, okay, all right, here's what I'm really going to be able to do. But he talks a lot about reverse engineering and tracking goals and what can you track, what can you make happen, what can you figure out to put into bite-sized pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is looking at the revenue. And Bill always laughs. He said, if you ask a small business owner just starting out how much money they want to make, they automatically go to $100,000 or $250,000. So next time you speak with somebody who's getting ready to start their own business, ask them, so Mike, how much money you want to make? You looking to make the first year? And you watch, more times than not, they'll start out at 100,000. So the revenue you want by the end of 2026. That's recurring revenue you have from this year, added revenue, everything like that for 2026. So many businesses have different average amount for a client. You're a business coach, going to be a higher ticket dollar. If you're a carpet cleaner, it's going to be a lower ticket dollar. And so you've got to figure out how many of those do I need to reach my revenue goal. So we're going to talk about the number of clients, the number of projects you need. Do you need one-time deals? My brother used to own a crawl space encapsulation company. Well, that was a one-hit wonder. You go in and do that the right way, and it's going to be a long time before they need you back. So you need new members all the time, new clients all the time. Whereas in the heating and air conditioning world, the HVAC world, if you get people on maintenance programs, you've got recurring revenue. So that's one of the first things we're going to look at there. But your 2026 goals, is it the revenue, or do you just want to add number of clients because you know the value of each client and you know how much time you have and how hard you really want to work? Because one of our goals is to do the least amount of work for the most amount of money, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's what we all want. If we can't be fully retired, we'd like to work 4 days a week, or we'd like to be flexible in traveling. Okay. So that's another thing we're going to talk about as well. So, all right. So the first place we're going to go is we're going to reverse engineer some numbers here. So I know you didn't know math was going to be involved today, but here comes a math equation. All right. So we want to break this down. You've got a company, your client average ticket for a client is $500. So you want to make $72,000 in 2026. That's basically $6,000 a month, $1,500 a week, $300 a day. All right. So now you know if I keep making $300 a day, I'm going to get to my 72,000. Whereas January, February, and March come through, and you're only at $19,210. You're like, I'm never going to get there. But actually, you're ahead of schedule if you look at it that way. So each week, it's kind of like, again, going back to the weight loss, you should celebrate every half pound you lose because it's a big deal and you're a half pound closer to your goal. So you need to make $300 a day. Your average client is worth $500. So that means you need 3 new clients a week. Excuse me, I phrased this wrong. If you want to add $72,000 to your revenue, okay? So 500, you need 3 new clients a week at $500, right? That's 12 clients a month. That's 144 a year. So how are you going to do that? So the first thing we need to figure out is what are the ways that you meet new clients and what do you have to do to meet new clients? So Amnon, $500 $300 a day, not too bad, right?
It's not too bad, but the one thing I would add here that don't set yourself goals that cannot be attained
That is correct.
because
Yes.
then you're going to feel like a failure.
Yep.
So be realistic.
Yep.
I mean, if you're selling cars, it's going to be hard to do that
Mm.
every week.
Oh, yeah.
And if no, let's go with homes.
Oh, yes. For realtors. Yeah.
But if you're selling trinkets, yeah, you could sell a whole lot more than that. So
Yep.
be realistic in what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that amount sounds
And a
good.
lot of these goals are on average because you're going to have a week where you do real well and you're going to have a slow week. And like
Right.
Amnon said, with residential realtors, you may have 3 closings in a month and then February and March are kind of quiet. So if you look at it that way.
Yep.
So then we need to figure out, all right, I need to get 3 new clients a week. And so we're going to break this down 2 different ways. Where do I find them and how much time is it going to take me to get those clients? One of the first things small business owners do is we devalue our time. I'll get to it when I get home tonight, or I'll get to it later. Usually we do that with our accounting and with our social media. And I always tell people if you're getting ready to start a business, you need to outsource both of those the day before you open up officially because you won't be that, you might be good at them. You won't be that good at them, but more importantly, you're not going to be that consistent doing it. If you own a small business, if you've ever tried to reconcile your month on the 29th day of the month, that makes for a long weekend or a long 72 hours versus 30 minutes a day, you know, 2 hours a week, whatever it comes down to. So you're managing it along the way. A lot of times as small business owners, we don't know or we've never taken the time to figure out what our hourly rate is. If we have employees, we know what we pay them. But do we ever look at, and here again, this goes back to out what you need to outsource. Because if your hourly rate is $500 an hour, every time you actually go to work, you bring in money. Let's say it's $500 an hour. Let's make it a little bit more realistic. Let's say $100 an hour. Okay. Um, so you look at that, and then you start looking at all the other things you're doing that aren't revenue producers, like your books, like your social media. And the books and the social media combined take 4 hours out of your week every week. So the only way to look at that is you've cost yourself a chance to make an extra $1,600. And if you outsource the bookkeeping and the social media, it's not going to cost you $1,600 a month to do that. So again, as small business owners, we devalue our time completely. And we're like, okay, well, I can make more time. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I'll just do that later. And the problem is if you have a family, when you get home at night, do you really want to work for 2 more hours or 2.5 more hours? Would you like to spend time with your spouse and your kids, or relaxing? Or if you have kids that are in little league, anything, or band or whatever, do you have a chance to go to all of their events? So again, let's outsource, but let's put a price on what we do. So we got to figure out how many hours a week you're working. 40, 50, 60, depending on what you do. And uh, here's another thing small business owners struggle with is we have to, in order to grow, we have to give up something. And that's hard to do for people who want to run their own business. No, no, no. I can do the books. I can do the social media. I can do the grass cutting. I can do all that. And at some point in time to grow, you've got to give up something.
The,
So what are you willing to give up? What's hardest for you to give up, Amnon?
um, I give up everything in order to take care of the business.
How long did it take you to get to that solution?
Um, Not too long.
Okay.
It was always a priority, but it's because I was lucky. I mean, I always worked from home
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, whether it was computers or car
Yeah,
work.
that's true.
So my daughter was home with grandma who lived downstairs. So it was easy. I mean, you were
Yeah.
I wasn't giving up family.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you want, you can take a break and go and do something. So it's not a good question for me.
Okay.
The your average person
Yeah.
that goes into an
Oh, yeah.
office,
Yep.
yeah, they're gonna have to give. But you got to put the business if you're gonna start limping
Yeah.
from the beginning, then you're gonna keep on limping.
Yep.
You have to do something and say, okay, here's my priorities.
Yep. And so we want to decide what success looks like on a day-to-day basis. Do I get all my work done? Do I make all the calls I need to? Do I get home for dinner? Can I make Little League Baseball that night? Whatever it is. And the other thing that we small business professionals start off thinking is, oh, I can help anyone. I can
Sure,
serve all of humanity that owns a business.
absolutely.
And in the insurance world and the financial advisor world, I think those are the only two that technically could be involved in somebody's life. Because at some point in time, you need insurance of some sort. And at some point in time, you probably should manage some money. But outside of that, the rest of us, we should not want any client. We should want ideal clients. So when you're looking at the success of your day-to-day life, or do you have some wrong clients? Now, they may pay good, but if you're so let's go back to the average ticket for a client's $500. And I'm a client of yours, and Amnon's a client of yours, and he pays us $500. You tell him what you're doing, and he's good with that. Me, I pay you my $500, and I got 3 questions a day, and I'm calling you, and I'm calling you again. Like, boy, if I was running your business, I wouldn't do it that way. Am I worth the time? Because every time I call you to ask about my $500 and what I'm getting, I could be keeping you from going to make more money and get a new ideal client like Amnon is, who has built up trust with you, and he knows if there's an issue, you'll call him, but otherwise, process is happening. So be very careful. We talk about this a lot on the show. Don't ask for anybody or everybody as a client. A couple reasons why. One is if 42 people call you today, how long would it take you to service all of them, or much less just get back to them to set up a conversation, figure out what they need? And the second thing is you don't want everybody as your client. And I have used this example a lot with my insurance friends. If Amnon's my auto insurance agent, and I call, or he is an auto agent, and I call him and say, "Hey, Amnon, state of North Carolina says I need insurance for my car. It's a 1972 Dodge Dart, and it barely runs, but I got to have something. So can you quote me something that's about $342 for the year?" He should just hang up on me. I am not going to be an ideal client, right? So Amnon, in his elevator pitches, would ask for people with toys. They got expensive cars, they got motorhomes, they got a boat, they got jet skis, they got those things. Because if we have the money to buy those, my assumption has always been we would like them replaced very quickly without paying any more money. So you're going to buy better coverage. And again, a lot of my insurance friends tell me all the time, most people have insurance, but not everybody has coverage. And they are right. Big difference between having a policy and being fully
Sure.
covered. So look back. One of the things to look back on your 2025 is do I want to keep all my clients? Because it's okay to fire a client. Talk to if you have some if you've never done that, if you have some friends that own a business or have a book of business they're growing, ask them if they've ever fired a client. And the ones that say yes will say yes with a smile. I promise you. And their life could not have been more freeing when they got rid of that client. So think about that as well. Who do you want in your day? And you want more and more ideal clients. So another thing we look at is, and I always preach this with folks, is we'll get to the business. If you and I just meet, we'll get to the business. I'm going to find out something about you personally that I want to ask about. Let's say you went to a college I'd never heard of before. I'd ask you where it is, or if you wrote a book, or if you ran in a triathlon, or something like that. I would ask you about that because we'll get to the business. So we need to find the connections. And the connections for our 3 clients a week is how did I come into contact with the people that eventually became a client? Did I meet somebody and we had to have 2 conversations and they became a client? Did I meet somebody that introduced me to somebody that we had 1 conversation that they then became a client? So we've got to look at the steps in the process of what did I have to do to get that client? So if we're looking at the activities, it could be you could be cold calling. Just my brother and I, when I first got into BNI, we had a commercial cleaning business, and I door knocked for months, and it paid off, but it took a while. But I kind of eventually, after I did it for a few weeks, I kind of knew how many times I had to knock on a door, so it was knocking on doors and did somebody talk to me? Because I needed to get the name and email address of the decision maker, because that's who was going to make the decision. So until I talked to them, it didn't matter who I talked to. And so that's another thing I learned is, all right, so I had to knock on 15 doors. I got 4 names and emails, and that led to a client. And so now that's our sales funnel. But we've got to figure out how many, we call them BNI, we call them one-to-ones. That's a phone call or somebody you meet for a cup of coffee or for lunch or breakfast is, how many of those do I have to have? Social media. How many posts do I need to post each week to get somebody commenting on it, to generate a conversation? So we got to know that, because a lot of times we'll just put stuff out. Oh, yeah, man, I posted this and I knocked on these doors and I went to these 2 networking events and I got 28 business cards. That was my favorite. Because when I first got into BNI, I was like, hey, man, I got 28 business cards from that event last night. And I come to find out I had set up no meetings. So was it really a productive event for me? I got business cards. I met some nice people, had some good conversations, but I didn't set up any meetings. So with every networking event you go to, if you go to 3 networking events a week and you set up 3 meetings that actually happen, and you close in one out of those 3 meetings, you get 1 client. There's your sales funnel. That's your math equation we're looking for. So we're reverse engineering it as to, what did I have to do to get that 1 client, instead of I need 1 client. All right. So, so sometimes at the gym, you may need to go 4 days a week. That's 16 times a month to lose your 4 pounds a month or 5 pounds a month, whatever it is. Plus, it helps exercise a little bit more if you enjoy sweet tea or French fries or something like that. So we need to build that into, just like in your business budget and business goals, you need to build that in. But we've got to figure out what gets us into conversations. And I always go back to the roofers. Uh, if we have a heavy rainstorm and your house has a leak, you don't know where it's coming from, who are you going to call first? Probably a roofer or an HVAC person, depending on where it is. But if it's dripping from the ceiling, you might call a roofer first. So that gets the roofer in your house, and a chance for a bigger transaction could happen. You might need no replacement. You might need a half replacement. You might need a full roof replacement. But we need to figure out those things that get us into conversations with people. Is it a post? Let's say you're an auto insurance agent. Hey, my name is Mike. I'm with ABC Insurance Company. Did you know? And I give them a fact about insurance coverage. So if you don't know, if you've not talked to your agent in a while, or you don't know what your policy is, give me a call. I'll look at your policy for free, have a conversation with you to let you know if you have everything you need. Here's my number. Great. Right? How many of those do you have to do? Do those lead to phone calls? Because at the end of the day, for our future clients, we generally need to have some sort of a meeting or conversation with them. So what gets you into those conversations? What gets you into those maintenance plans for the HVAC company? What gets you into a conversation if you're a business coach or you're a financial advisor? You need to sit and chat with somebody to figure out what their goals are. Not what they need, but what their goals are, and then you put a plan together. So what's the primary growth driver, which is basically, how are we going to get into conversations with people about what we do? Any good stories for you back in the day when you were doing? So let's talk about which one you want to talk about?
When in the early days, I used to go out and put flyers on cars because I was working on
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
That's what I used to do. So I would sit at home, do the different flyers, design them, print them on nice colored paper and everything, and go out to Kmart
Yep.
back then,
Yep.
Roses.
Roses. I used to work there way back in the
That's a
70s.
long
Yep.
time ago, yeah. And put them there,
Yep.
and people would call. So if I put out 200 flyers,
Mm-hmm.
and I would get 5 people to call,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I until I got into BNI, I mean, I never knocked on doors.
Mm.
Never had to do it. But until I got into BNI and I saw, oh wow, this is like you going in there and you always have customers,
Yep.
new customers. And that was real nice, important, and uh relieving, kind of like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is.
you're more relaxed because you know that you got people working for you out there. You're not paying them, you're helping
Yep.
them by they're giving you, you giving them.
Yeah.
And the more you know, the more people you know that do stuff, the more you become valuable.
Yep.
Because then George calls and say, "I'm not, a plumber." Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, here.
And this goes back
So
to doing the least amount of work for the most amount of money. So you build those relationships, have those conversations, and people start calling you because that's what we all want. The goal is to be referral only, where I don't have to call you to hire me. You're already calling me to hire me.
right,
So a couple things on that. If you do flyers or any kind of print advertising or radio, anything like that, if you have the ability to put a different phone number on a mailer or a flyer or something like that to track it, then you know the only way they got that phone number was because they got a hold of your flyer that you mailed people, anything like that. But you need to be able to track that. Or if it's in print, you can give them a different landing page on your website. They go to holiday special,
right,
amnon.com/holiday special. And then the only way they got there was because of what you did. Because you may be doing five things at once and your phone's ringing, and it could be in reality only one of those things is making the phone ring and the other four are wasted time and money. So any chance you get to track anything you do, and a friend of mine was approached to put uh, an advertisement for his business on some bags in one of the grocery stores. And we talked through that because a lot of people, depending on what you get and where you get it, you may file it away and then call Amnon a month later about, fixing your car. And he says, "Oh, Mike, how'd you hear about us?" I forget where I got your number, because it's true. We all get busy. We have a sheet of paper, but we can't remember where we got it. And a lot of times what we hear is, "Oh, I Googled you." Well, they Googled you because you left them something to look at. And they saw Amnon's Auto Repair. And they went online, just check you out, just like a lot of people. Hey, new restaurant in town. Let me go see what they like. My wife shops a lot on Amazon. And when she's looking for something, she'll look at reviews. Just see what people are saying about it, okay? So a lot of times people are like, "Well, I Googled you." All right, but what made you Google us? What did we put in front of you that made you think of us? So again, make it trackable so you know where you're spending your time and money. We can make more money, folks. We cannot make more time. So we need to be efficient at this. All right. So on the process side of this, we need to define our weekly execution plan. So, what are we going to do every week? We figure out that I'm going to go to 3 networking events a week. I'm going to make 40 phone calls a week. I'm going to whatever. But what's the plan each week? And that can vary. Okay. That can vary. But what are you going to do each day and each week? And are you good following your own schedule? I am not. I schedule a number of things and I blow through some of them. So if it's on your schedule, like I've got talking with the guy the other day in BNI, we were talking about schedules, and he even puts his need to run to the store to pick up this on his calendar, because he said if it's not on his calendar, he doesn't get to it. So are you that disciplined? I know you are, Amnon. I don't even need to ask you
I
that.
use the calendar.
Yep. So if it's on there and you have it for Tuesday at 11 a.m.,
And it will
barring a
beep at me again and again to
barring a
remind me.
catastrophe, you're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. In our business, we want to find repeatable things we can do. And had a good conversation. I was in New Bern last week visiting the New Bern BNI chapter there. And a few of us were talking afterwards about time management and blocking time, which I struggle with. I struggle with a lot of that stuff. So, learned a good tip. So I was talking with one of the guys, John, who's a property manager. I'm gonna have him on the show here shortly. Uh, he said, "I'm a big fan of Ben Franklin," and I went, "The Ben Franklin?" And he said,
The
"Yes." Ben Franklin would set 48-minute timer. You know, back in the day, they had the sand clocks, right?
yeah, the
Flip them over. But he would set it for 48 minutes because he learned that that was a manageable time for him. And I got to thinking about that. If somebody said, okay, you've got a 4 hour block to do all of this, I'm out. I cannot stay focused that long on that. But for 48 minutes, yeah. So he would block 48 minutes and then do whatever he needs to do, not just one thing. He's got 48 minutes. He's got four things he needs to get done. You know, if it gets done in 32 minutes, he goes to the next thing to do because he's still got 16 minutes left. Excuse me. But then when that 48-minute window is over, he takes 12 minutes off, does just changes his vision, gets up, walks around, walks outside, gets a drink, something like that. Okay. No TV back then, but, but again, so are you good with that? To schedule, hey, from 9 to 9:48, I'm doing this. From 10 to 10:48, I'm doing this. Actually pretty good. I'm gonna start working on that this week. And then the other thing we need that we again, this goes back to, hey, my phone's ringing. I'm doing 5 different things. So are we tracking stuff? Do you in a spreadsheet? Do you have a CRM, which is a customer service portal, where you track on this day I met Amnon. We talked about this. Here's what we agreed to. Here's what it led to. You can do it in an Excel spreadsheet. That's fine. But are you tracking the conversations I had with Mike and Jenny and Susie on Monday? What did it lead to? The door knocking I did on Tuesday. I stopped at 15 businesses, list them all, who you talked to, what you got out of it, and then you track it down the road to see, oh, okay, those kind of work. Because at the end of the day, we got to figure out where the business is coming from. And if we just do 14 things a week and the phone keeps ringing, how do we know what's really working? So if two of those 14 things are working and we put more time into those two things, bet our revenue is going to go up. So you need to track literally every phone call. You just do. Set up your own system that your eyes, and I'm a big fan of explaining this to my wife, Becky, when we're talking about something and she'll say something, said, no, sweetie, my eyes just don't see that. Because we were, golly, where we were,
we can't think
oh,
about everything.
no, Becky and I were packing the car. We were going somewhere. This was a month ago. And it was easier for my eyes saw it better if I walked around to the other side of the car to put it in that side than lean all the way over and try to straighten it, which she would have done. She goes, why don't you just do that? It's like, nah, I just don't see it that way. So I walked around, simple, placed it right where it needed to be, and I was done. So again,
And you didn't hurt your back.
yeah, that's right here, my back. Good point. Good point. I always aware of that. Surprised I forgot about that. So, but again, so setting up systems, it's got to be so your eyes see it. It could be the greatest system in the free world, and you just don't see it.
Hmm.
You know, some things I walk in here with Amnon, and I know not to ask anymore because he could tell me and he would explain it wonderfully, and I just don't get it. I don't see it. So set up your spreadsheet, your whatever you want to call it, of all the activities you're doing the way your eyes see it. So when you look at it, you can tell, met with this person, okay, turned into that. And again, a spreadsheet, in notebook, handwrite it, whatever you want to do, but we have to track it because we gotta figure out what's working. Remember back when we were all 16, 17? For some of you, it's easier. But we always started having those conversations. Hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? Well, some of us had an idea, some of us didn't. And a lot of times it was really good to eliminate the things we didn't want to do because then we knew, okay, like I did not grow up a car guy. My dad traveled Monday through Friday, and so I never did work on cars, so I was never a car guy. And a couple of friends of mine loved tinkering on cars, like, hey, why don't you? Nah, that's not for me. So you got to eliminate the things that aren't working for you, and that includes business activities. You may need to look at it later and redirect it towards another group of the community. But for right now, if it's not working, we need to focus on the things that are working, nudge those up by 3%, 5% a week, and see our revenue grow. And so here's another good story. We set a goal and we're watching it, and it's working. It worked too good. So again, I was in New Bern last week, and one of the guys in the chapter, John Ipock, who works for a staffing company down there, good dude, real smart, telling a good story. In 2025, at the end of 2024, he set his goals for number of people he wanted to find to employ for businesses in the New Bern area. And John reached his goal on July 1. He reached a 12-month goal in 6 months. And then he just kind of didn't put on cruise control, but kind of took his eye off the goal because he'd already reached it. And looking back on it, he realized, if I'd have tracked that every month, I would have kept adjusting the goal because I was ahead of it the whole year. I could have had an even better year. So he's going to work on that. So are you adjusting as you go? And that means adjusting up and down. Because after 90 days or 120 days, if you're doing all these activities correctly and on time when you should be doing them, you're going to start to see patterns. Wow, networking is really working versus cold calling is not. But we got to figure out, are we cold calling everybody or are we cold calling just medical offices, which are who we want to work with? So we need to be able to track that so each month you can adjust it a little bit. And if you find networking is working, hey, let me see if I can add 2 more in February. But again, you got to figure out what's not working as well because you can't waste time. This day and age, you just can't. For you to spend 2 mornings a week doing something that's not going to make you any money, we got to eliminate those.
Yeah, and you also have to remember, too much of a good thing is also bad. If you are getting a lot of customers and you're
Yep.
spreading yourself thin,
Yep.
you're going to piss off customers who will talk bad about you, and sooner or later it's going to
Yep.
tank you.
Yep.
So you need to be realistic. Well, I can have 5 customers a week, but I don't have the time to take care of them, depending on what you're doing. Again,
Yep.
if you don't have time to take care of them, and you have to postpone meetings with them and not update them, and they don't know what's going on, that's bad.
Yep. Yep. So as you set goals, and as one of the final talking points down here is, are you prepared to grow? Do you want to grow? You don't have to grow. If you're making X number of dollars a year and you're good with it, hey, keep going, keep going. But if you're looking to grow, which this is interesting too, with a lot of business professionals, if you're sitting in a seminar, there's 200 people in the auditorium, and the keynote speaker goes, "Hey, who here wants to grow their business?" Of course, every hand is going to go up. You don't want to be the one guy's like, "I'm good where I am," So some people say they want to grow, but again, they've got to give up something to grow. And if you're a home service provider, HVAC, landscaping, plumbing, whatever, and you want to grow, eventually you're not going to be able to go on all the jobs. So is that okay with you? So I don't go on the job. Amnon doesn't go on the job anymore, but he hires me. I go to Mr. and Mrs. Smith's house. I do the work. They're happy with it. So Amnon's not at the house anymore, but he calls the Smiths the next day to see how it went. Wanted to give you overnight, see how it worked and everything. Oh, yeah, Mike was here on time. He explained everything to us. Thank you very much. So he's still involved with the customers. He's just not at the house doing the work. So that's one of your ways to grow and still be in touch with the customer. Like Amnon said, are you in contact with them? Just checking in with them and finding out what they need. So if you're going to grow, you better have a plan, because hiring somebody for the first time ever to do the work you've been doing for the company you started can be traumatic.
Yeah.
Some people don't go for it. The first BNI chapter I was in, we approved a handyman. And he told us from day one, he goes, I tell all my clients I do all the work. And by golly, in 90 days, we worked him out of the chapter because we gave him so many referrals. He goes, I can't take any more work. And again, if you don't want any more work, if you're good where you are, wonderful. But have a plan to make sure you keep that same number of clients to stay where you are so you are comfortable. But again, we talked about vision, process, and discipline. And that comes through clarity. What's our vision? Focus. Here's our process. I need to focus every day on the 12 things I'm supposed to do. And the consistent review, which is, am I on schedule? That's also the discipline. Am I doing everything? You may need a checklist that says, here are the 10 phone calls I need to make, and 1 through 10 on a sheet of paper, and you list the phone number and the person and the result. May have been got voicemail. Okay, great. Left a message. You'll put that on the tickler file for Wednesday to follow up on. But again, we need to reverse engineer the goals. Losing 30 pounds is a great goal. Making $100,000 is a great goal. But we got to reverse engineer it to bite-sized pieces so we can actually see results, and that will keep our enthusiasm up. If we know we're on schedule or ahead of schedule, we're going to be fired up in the mornings, waking up. It's like, oh, man, this plan's really working out, versus, I don't know if I'll ever make $70,000. It's only February, and like, I only got $4,000 in the bank. Or losing weight. I've only lost 3 pounds. Well, you're ahead of schedule by 1/4 of a pound. Good. Celebrate every bit of that. So anyways, you need to set goals. So I've got my email up here, openmictalk@gmail.com. Send me an email. I will send you a checklist for you to follow to set up your goals. But you got to have goals. You have to. You can't just wing it. You can't just, I tell everybody what I do and I just hope the phone rings. That's not a really good business plan. And if you want to be more efficient and more profitable, you got to have goals to figure out what's working, what do the people want that I do, and what do I need to eliminate. And again, if you're doing 8 hours a week that's not generating any revenue, after 90 days, we should know that those 8 hours aren't generating any revenue. So that's our message for today. Goal setting, but reverse engineer them. So work backwards and figure out each day, what do I, on average, let me say that again, on average, what do I need to accomplish? Losing weight, I need to lose this amount of weight on average every day. Raising revenue for my business, I need on average this number a day or a week. You can break it down by week, but don't make it any bigger than that. Don't track everything only by the month. That's halfway through the month, that could frustrate you. So do it every day or every week, whichever's more comfortable for you. And let's see how you do. So keep us posted on that. Openmictalk@gmail.com. Keep me posted. Let me know your thoughts on goals. Or if you want my worksheet, happy to send me an email. Happy to send it back to you. And we'll see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
And Merry Christmas, everybody.
And Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Be safe and be smart. Hope you have some good times.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.